It all begins Thursday as 32 National Football League franchises begin their search for the new centerpieces of their franchises through the 2019 NFL Draft. Right here on SBTV, breaking down the first round, the first 32 picks for you. Joining me at the desk, Jacob Sennholz, Malik Jackson. Over to my left, we've got Big Mike Wengrzyn on Big Mike's Big Board, tracking all 32 picks that we bring you over the next 45 minutes.
It's going to be a lot of fun on today's show. We got all 32 picks, all divided up equally between the four of us. We're going to get started right away.
Let's get to it. You're watching Sports Hub on SBTV.
Let's start off this mock draft show right with the number one overall pick. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. Alex, you have the first overall pick. Who is Arizona going to?
All right. We're going to start things off interesting. I think there's a lot of smoke screens being thrown. You don't pick a quarterback at number 10 overall the year prior, give him a brand new head coach, and say, we're going to go a different direction with the number one overall pick. No, Kyler Murray's really, really good at football. I'm not denying that. I just think they're trying to move out of that number one spot to get more compensation than what it's worth. Josh Rosen, I think, would have already been traded if they were going to go the direction of Kyler Murray. Now there's reports coming out that's saying that was a smokescreen the whole time. I don't know what to believe, but I'm going to go that direction. I'm going Nick Bosa from Ohio State at pick number one. Anybody? Anybody want to argue that?
I would like to argue it, but we don't have enough time, so we'll argue it in a different forum. I just personally don't believe that you show as much interest as you do as Kyler Murray. All the connections going back to when Kyler, I believe, was 15 or so years old. Like you said, maybe Rosen was in on it, but from everything that I've seen, it doesn't seem that he wasn't on it. I just don't think that you don't bring in a guy, fresh off a Heisman Trophy win. You mess with your current quarterback's head, who it's only his second year in the league, and then at the end of it, you're just going to be like, oh, no, never mind, you're our guy, Josh. And the fact that they do have a new head coach even makes me believe even more so it's going to be Kyler Murray. It's not the coach that was there when Rosen was drafted.
I don't know.
So,
question's unanswered.
With that being said, either it's Kyler Murray or Nick Bosa. I mean, I think almost everybody's going to agree those are one of the two players that's going to go off first. Nick Bosa, possibly the best player in this draft, maybe has the highest ceiling out of almost anybody. If you look at his numbers, the other thing is he's got an older brother that's had success already in the NFL. If you look at his numbers, they don't anywhere match up near Joey's. He's got literally half the numbers of Joey Bosa, but you got to keep in mind.
And double the injuries.
Double the injuries, that's what I was going to say. You got to keep in mind he only missed three games, he only played in 3 games this last season, so he really only had 2 full years at Ohio State. Either way, again, he comes in to the NFL only putting up half the numbers of Joey Bosa, but I think that he's going to be drafted off his potential. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Nick Bosa is a very, very talented, arguably the most talented player in this draft. Kyler Murray, I just don't see the Arizona Cardinals slipping past him in the first round for the first overall pick. Like you attested to, having a new coach there, having all of these, they were the first team, I believe, to meet with Kyler Murray. It was just a whole bunch of stuff, speculation, just playing with Josh Rosen, as you attested to as well. So I think that it would be a good pick for them to go with Kyler Murray. But who knows? You might be right. I mean, Nick Bosa is amazing, so we'll see.
You can't go wrong either way, and
Exactly.
I agree. I wouldn't be shocked if Kyler Murray went here. I don't see it happening. It doesn't make sense to me. I guess the only thing that would make sense is exactly what Jake mentioned. Cliff Kingsbury, first-year head coach, wants to handpick his guy. I guess I'd understand that, but you don't know what you have in Josh Rosen yet. I got to defend my look-alike. You got to understand that a little bit.
Well, the other thing, too, is I believe, especially after the trade that we just saw today, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, between the Chiefs and the Seahawks, obviously Josh Rosen would pull in, at a minimum, another first-round pick. So it would basically be like you just used the guy for a year. You're still going to get first-round compensation back for him, most likely. So it's not like they're losing anything by moving on from Josh Rosen after this. They will, for sure, get at least a first-round draft pick out of him. At least that's my take.
Absolutely. Let's move on to pick number 2. The San Francisco 49ers at pick number 2. They've got their quarterback, so I don't think Murray goes number 2. Jake, you have pick number 2. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, I've got Quinnen Williams going. He's a sophomore DN out of Alabama. 56 solo tackles this year, 10 sacks in just 2 years in Alabama. Again, talk a lot about the numbers. numbers play a huge part when you're talking about analyzing these guys and draft position and stuff. Not the biggest numbers you're going to see out of any guys, especially at this defensive end position. This is a loaded draft, lots of really talented guys at that D-end position, but I think Quinnen Williams is going to be right there up at the top of those guys. Again, just like Nick Bosa being drafted off his potential talent after only showing us 2 years worth of work in college.
But it was definitely impressive, and of course, if you're leading the charge of the defensive front at Alabama, I think you're going to get drafted pretty high, just like they always are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think you can go wrong with Quinnen Williams at 2. You talk about the pass rushers, Malik. You've got pick number 3, the New York Jets. They're going to go pass rusher as well, I imagine, right?
Yes, sir, indeed. I picked Josh Allen out of Kentucky. He is a senior. He definitely has so much edge rush. He comes off. He has so much speed. He really will add another dimension to this New York Jets defense. Something that they really need to improve on. You know, adding Le'Veon Bell, having Sam Darnold already set in place. You have to work on the other side of things. So working on the defensive end and adding in Allen. He also is very good in coverage. A lot of people are talking about him being an all-around edge rusher. So I think that that's something that could be very beneficial for this Jets team.
I think Josh Allen is kind of a boom pick, right? Not necessarily low risk, high reward. That's not the right term to pin on it. But the high reward part, definitely very, very possible with Josh Allen. The second Josh Allen picked in the top 15 2 years in a row. Different Josh Allens.
How about that?
Of course.
And the SEC, these players are coming off the board quick from the SEC.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We'll throw it back over to Mike on the big board. Mike, you've got pick number 4 with the Oakland Raiders. We going more pass rush at number 4?
Yeah, I think we're going to see that out of this Oakland Raiders team. Keep in mind, too, they got 3 draft picks here in the first round, which they all got through trades last year with teams such as the Bears and the Cowboys. But right at number 4, I think they're going to go with their defensive pass rush and draft Rashawn Gray, the linebacker out of Michigan. Or defensive end, rather, out of Michigan. I feel like he can provide some serious help to that outside rush for the Raiders defense. The Raiders defense overall has been struggling in years past, and overall this Raiders team has been pretty dysfunctional since John Gruden came in as head coach. So I think Rashawn Gary is going to come in, or Rashawn Gary, is going to come in, and he's going to really change things up on that defense and maybe not necessarily be the answer to this Raiders team as a whole, but he'll be a piece of the start of it.
Hard to do. Antonio Brown, now a Raider. So recapping our top 4 picks, as Mike writes in number 4, we've got Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, Josh Allen, and Rashawn Gary, all pass rushers in the top 4 of this first round. I've got pick 5 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not straying away from pass rush. Houston's Ed Oliver, one of the biggest names in this draft class. I think there's no doubt he's a top 5 pick, maybe at worst a top 6 pick. Depending what happens there with the whole Kyler Murray situation. So no quarterbacks in the top 5. I'll go Ed Oliver out of Houston, staying south, but going to Tampa Bay, playing with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, once again, I mentioned it during my pick. This draft incredibly deep for pass rushing in general, but more specifically the defensive end position. It's just stacked with talent.
Another pick there at 6, New York Giants. They could use pass rush, maybe a quarterback as well. Which direction are you going with them, Jake?
It is tempting to say Dwayne Haskins. There's been a lot of talk. I think he would be a decent fit. Haskins, he seems like a pretty down-to-earth guy. He seems like he would handle New York well. But with that being said, if you're willing to pass on Sam Darnold last year, why would you not be willing to pass on a guy like Dwayne Haskins this year? So with that being said, I think they are going to go pass rush. They traded away their top pass rusher and Olivier Vernon this offseason. So I think they're going to roll with Eli Manning for at least a year or 2 longer. They're going to take Montez Sweat, a senior defensive end out of Mississippi State. And this is a guy who he didn't really play too much in his first 2 years. He got off to a slow start. He went to Michigan State initially. But his last 2 years after transferring to Mississippi State, 50 solo tackles, 23 and a half sacks in just 2 years. I mean, those are great numbers.
The guy's a genetic freak, and going at 6, New York can't go wrong. They need to rebuild from a lot of facets on that entire team, both offensively and defensively. Now, I want to bring up, we're through the first 6 picks, no quarterback, and there was a lot of talk at Arizona going quarterback, a lot of talk of New York, who Jake just passed on a quarterback from. Number 1, we can remember New York does have a pick at number 17 as well, so we'll get there.
Correct.
But this quarterback class a year ago, when it was the NFL draft of 2018, a lot of the speculation is, well, this isn't a very good quarterback class if Justin Herbert of Oregon doesn't come out. You can't have Trevor Lawrence of Clemson yet. Tua Tagovailoa didn't come out. Not a super stacked quarterback class, and it's kind of showing through 6 picks that maybe teams will hold back a little bit and wait until the later part of the first round to grab quarterbacks. A team that maybe fixed their quarterback controversy over the offseason. Nick Foles going to Jacksonville. The Jaguars at pick number 7. Malik, you have that. Which direction are they going?
They're going with the offensive tackle. That's something that they definitely need, specifically for this Jacksonville team. I mean, you have Leonard Fournette, but he has a lot of touches, and now that you have a Super Bowl MVP quarterback on your team, it just adds another element to it, and now you have to set in place Jawan Taylor from Florida, the offensive tackle there, drafting him in the first round and adding that element. He would definitely be a significant figure for this team, because without having a quarterback in protection, then he's not going to be able to get to any other receivers that he has available, and then it will put that much even more pressure on Leonard Fournette to go out there and get even more touches. So it has to be balanced out, I believe, with both sides of the ball, with passing and with rushing. So I think that that's something that they should go with. Definitely the offensive tackle.
Nick Foles, Leonard Fournette, and Jawan Taylor on the Jaguars offensive front. A solid pick from the league. Our final pick before we head to our first timeout. Mike, you have the Detroit Lions at pick number 8. Which direction are you going?
So the Detroit Lions are quite an interesting team. I could really see them going either offense or defense in this draft. Definitely need more help, I think, on the defensive side of the ball, but at the same time, ever since Calvin Johnson retired, their offensive weaponry has not been, I would say, as decent as it has been in years past. So I think this year we're going to see a little bit different pick here in the first top 10 picks. We're going to see them go with the tight end, T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end out of Iowa. Definitely is going to be probably the best tight end, I think, in this draft class.
The best tight end we've seen in a long time.
Possibly in a long time. You can't really pass up on a talent like this at number 8, especially if you need somebody for Stafford to throw the ball to this upcoming season as well. And Stafford is getting older. He doesn't have as many young, reliable weapons. So I think Hawkinson can change that this year in Detroit.
So T.J. Hawkinson at number 8 to Detroit. Not a whole lot of sexy picks in the top 8.
My only question about that is, we just saw Eric Ebron went to the Lions for 4 years. He did absolutely nothing. Ebron was a big name coming into the draft, coming out of college. Everybody expected huge things out of him. Saw almost nothing in Detroit, and then he, of course, goes to Indianapolis for 1 year, has more touchdowns with the Colts than he ever had in 4 years with Detroit. Right. So my only concern with that pick would be, obviously, great player, great talent, but will the Lions effectively use him? Will it make a difference for Matt Stafford? It didn't for Ebron, so that's something to be seen.
Like we said, though, Jake, this is probably the best tight end we've seen in the last 5-6 draft classes.
Right. And
number 8 overall, it's hard to almost justify drafting a tight end that early.
Right. I'm not saying anything against the player. I'm saying the player is and will be probably phenomenal. But yes, but we have seen great tight ends fail in Detroit before. Hopefully that doesn't happen for him again.
True.
Absolutely a stud. His fellow Hawkeye, Noah Fant, another probably first-round tight end. We'll get into that. That does it for our first 8 picks. We'll come back with the next 8, review our top half of the first round. I'll lead it off when we come back. You're watching Sports Hub, the 2019 NFL Draft Special, right here on SBTV.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well, but it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
UW-Stevens Point is home.
It's a university where professors know your name and get you involved in research.
They inspire us to realize big dreams.
At UW-Stevens Point, sustainability is what we stand for.
Our beautiful campus encourages exploration, developing new fields, and problem solving for the real world.
It's a great place to launch your career.
UW Stevens Point is home.
Apply today at uwsp.edu.
Welcome back into the 2019 NFL Draft Preview Show right here on the Sports Hub. We're probably doing okay, maybe not if you're watching this in a week, but nonetheless, we're trying our best. I'm Alex Strouf, Malik Jackson, Jake Sennholz. We've got Big Mike Wengrzyn on Big Mike's big board to my left. We'll take a look at that after pick 16. We're on pick 9. We're through 8, on to 9. The Buffalo Bills. They drafted Josh Allen last year, a quarterback. They were really bad again this year. They need protection. I'm going Jonah Williams, the offensive lineman from Alabama. He only played in a couple national championship games. I think he knows how to protect a quarterback all right. So I went Jonah Williams. Again, not a whole lot of sexy picks here in the top 9, but we'll talk about a sexy pick. We'll jump over to the analysis on Williams. Number 10, Jake, you've got it. Denver Broncos, what are they doing? Sexy pick or not?
It is, depending on who you ask, I think it's a sexy pick. I think it's a surprising pick as well, maybe to an outsider. But for me, I think it makes total sense to take Drew Lock at number 10, quarterback out of Missouri. Again, not only is this the first quarterback off the board, if everything goes as we are assuming it will.
I don't think it's crazy.
No, I don't think so either. But the crazy part is all this talk of Kyler Murray going number 1. Dwayne Haskins has a heck of a year. He's brought in by the Giants. You know, these two guys are possibly top 5, top 6 picks. And then all of a sudden, Drew Lock might be the first quarterback off the board. Now, the reason that I think it makes perfect sense for that he would go to the Denver Broncos is because John Elway loves a guy with a big arm. Drew Lock has a huge arm. He's one of those guys that you're gonna have some
quarterback.
You're gonna have some big time turnovers, but you're also gonna have some big time plays down the field with a guy with this type of arm. I also firmly believe that no matter what John Elway does here, there's a small possibility it could be Dwayne Haskins, right? But you got to believe a quarterback's being taken at 10. I think the Broncos moved up in this draft to get to this 10 spot. I think they did. So if you move up, it only makes sense to me. You take a quarterback. John Elway, too, has a lot riding on this. Joe Flacco is an older guy, also with a big arm. He could be there mentoring a guy like Drew Lock. But honestly, I believe that if Elway has another bust, I think that the rest of his career in the front office, at least with the Denver Broncos, rides on this pick right here.
I think so, too. Denver didn't move up, but they could move up if they really want somebody that they think could go off the board, a quarterback. Look, the draft's not going to go the way through 10 picks that we're saying it does. It's very hard to do a successful mock draft. However, Drew Lock absolutely could be the first quarterback taken. Would not, I shouldn't say shock me, wouldn't super much surprise me. I'm going to make up terms now.
Super much.
Yeah, super much. I think he's a really solid quarterback. He's a traditional college quarterback coming out of Missouri, played there 4 years, was kind of a half Heisman candidate the last 3. Drew Lock's a very good quarterback. And going to a traditional place like Denver, John Elway, Peyton Manning, now Joe Flacco, Jay Cutler for a while. Pretty traditional, tall, strong, big arm quarterbacks that can win ball games.
Big arm is the thing. If you go through the list of names that you just put out there again, there's one thing they have in common. They can all throw the ball 65, 70 yards downfield. Drew Lock also has that capability. Yeah. He's got a monster arm. He's got a cannon. And as I mentioned, Joe Flacco is there. Joe Flacco has, I don't know about now, but in his prime, he had one of the best deep balls in the entire NFL. So, again, you got all these guys that are similar style of quarterback. Hopefully they can make it work with Drew Lock.
Yeah, I definitely just don't see how you can pass on Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins at this spot. But like you said, it's a pick that it's a toss-up, but I think that definitely those 2 quarterbacks are better than Drew Lock. Although he does throw on the run very well, and he's also a very strong quarterback, which like throwing downfield. But I just don't see how you can take between those 2 quarterbacks.
I don't want to make the direct comparison because I don't think Drew Lock is nearly as good as Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes was another guy where you're like, that guy's not going to be the first guy taken. There's other better quarterbacks in this draft, right? But the Chiefs loved him. The Chiefs loved him as a quarterback. They fit him perfectly. They fit the coach, or he fit them perfectly. He fit the coach perfectly. Drew Lock could be this same type of situation where maybe there are 2 quote-unquote better quarterbacks before them, but Drew Lock would make more sense and have more success in Denver.
Sit a year and then come out and be unbelievable MVP. Maybe not that extreme,
Right,
like
I'm
you
saying,
said. You
yeah,
don't wanna
he's
make,
not Patrick
but make
Mahomes,
the situational comparison, and that absolutely makes sense, Jake. Solid comparison on your end. Number 11, Malik. We're one away from the big one, but we'll get your pick in anyway. Cincinnati, new head coach Zach Taylor. What do they do in their first pick of the 2019 NFL draft?
I definitely think that they're going linebacker with Devin White. I'm surprised that he dropped this low to the 11th pick. He's one of the top linebackers in the nation. Went to LSU, led them in tackles, individual deflections on the team. As a linebacker, you're the most pivotal player on the team. And if you're able to switch him from outside linebacker to also middle linebacker, that can be very clutch. And I believe that the Bengals need that, because they've been on the decline with the defensive pressure that they've had. I mean, they always do good, but then they never close. So I think that adding a Devin White to your team, he definitely adds another element to the dimension of the defense to where they can go out, play a heck of a game, and add some type of help to Andy Dalton and A.J. Green, because they definitely need help on the defensive end.
Well, I was going to say, this is another type of team. You just said for the Denver Broncos, how do you pass on either Dwayne Haskins or Kyler Murray? You could say the same thing about Cincinnati. How can you not pass on these guys? I mean, or how can you pass on these guys and not take, finally somebody new in that head coaching spot? We've seen Andy Dalton has a hard time staying healthy. Even when he is healthy, he's right, middle of the pack as far as talent and quarterbacks. So this is a team for me, too, that might be taking a quarterback. I think that what you said makes sense, Malik.
And we keep bringing up quarterbacks. I'm sorry, Malik, but we keep bringing up quarterbacks. If this draft goes the other way, where Kyler Murray goes 1, Dwayne Haskins goes 6 to the Giants, then Denver does go Drew Lock, it could definitely be, Daniel Jones from Duke going at number 11. We could have 4 quarterbacks off the board before the Packers pick. It could go one of 2 ways where we only have 1 off the board. It could be a very much in between where there's only 2. It really depends what the teams decide. And I'm excited. I just don't know which way it's going to go. I think it probably goes more this way, though.
If that does happen, every team basically 14, 15 and below would be rejoicing, because there'd be so much top-of-the-round talent being pushed down.
Yeah.
Right now we have all these guys, going early in the round because there's no quarterbacks. And in typical years, we see so many quarterbacks going off the board early. I think it's going to be a really exciting, and it's going to be a different draft. But like I said, if you're one of those lower half teams, you're begging, like praying, please take 3, take 4 quarterbacks.
I just don't see how people can pass up on quarterbacks when that's the most important position in football. You have to get a franchise quarterback or your team is never going to develop and be good.
Devin White, definitely a big pick out of LSU for Cincinnati, adding some fire to that defense. Maybe the new Vontaze Burfict minus all the dirty stuff that goes on from Burfict. But still a lot of big names on the board. As mentioned, Dwayne Haskins, Devin Bush, Brian Burns, Cody Ford, DK Metcalf, Christian Wilkins. It's time for the one we've all been waiting for. Hit the music. Big Mike, it's the Green Bay Packers pick. What do they do if this was the case?
Well, not to show any bias here, Alex, but I think this is the pick that we've all been looking forward to on this show right here.
You can show bias. It's okay.
It's the Green Bay Packers. It's our team. They're in a very similar situation just as Detroit is. I could see them going either offense or defense in this draft. There's really no set player, I think, that Green Bay is really looking at. I don't know what Gutekunst is doing in his second year as general manager, but he's got some eyes on some really big players, and the player that I think that he probably will have taken in here at number 12 will be Devin Bush, the linebacker out of Michigan. Again, as I mentioned, Green Bay could go either offense or defense, but at the same time, Mike Pettin has been restructuring this defense. He was able to survive the small coaching purge that went through the organization here this offseason. So I think having Devin Bush, that outside pass rusher, could potentially be somebody like Clay Matthews his rookie year, but it's going to take some time yet, I think. But Devin Bush, I think, will be wearing the green and gold next year.
Definitely an interesting pick out of Michigan. Obviously, there's a lot of needs this Packer team needs to fix. 6-9-1 in 2018. The big needs, obviously, safety, cornerback, offensive tackle, anything on defense, really, as a whole. So grabbing a pass rusher, especially with the departure of Clay Matthews, definitely key. Devin Bush, probably the right pick here, right?
Probably, because you're playing a real dangerous game. In my mock draft, I had him fall all the way to pick 30.
Oh, jeez.
And I know it's surprising, but
somebody always falls.
Somebody always falls. The Packers have been lucky enough to have amazing players, Aaron Rodgers, fall to them incredibly far before Jair Alexander. Right, you were able to get Alexander and Josh Jackson last year exactly where you wanted to get them, even though a lot of people were saying maybe you got to take Jackson or he's not going to be there. I think this could possibly be the same type of situation, because if the Packers were to take a linebacker at 12, I don't really see another team taking another linebacker throughout the remainder of the draft. I mean, of course it's possible, but I think it's going to be a fantastic pick because, like I said, I think 30, that's just way too dangerous of a game.
If it's a personal preference, I'd go Brian Burns out of Florida State at 12 if he's there. But I'm not going to complain about this one either. I mean, you definitely cannot complain about Devin Bush.
Definitely not. Both of the Devins in the draft are very, very talented at the linebacker position, but which was funny to me, I saw a lot of mock drafts having DK Metcalf actually go to the Packers, and I don't know what would you guys think about that?
Not at number
is that
12
too early?
overall.
Too early?
Yeah, I think that's too early. If
And
he's
then
there
you
at
have
30,
Devontae.
why not?
You have
If he's
Devontae.
there at 30, I would say why not, especially if you have Noah Fant gone, and obviously TJ Hawkinson gone, who will be gone by 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ideally what I've been saying is you either go offensive line and pass rush at 12, and you go tight end at 30. That's ideally for me. I mean, any of those three positions in any order other than keep tight end at 30. I don't want tight end at 12. You still have a first-year head coach. You still have a very talented tight end in Jimmy Graham. So you can hold off till 30 on tight end. You need pass rush. You need offensive line. And tight end is kind of a serviceable need, I guess. It's one that's not entirely urgent, but definitely would be a good addition in the long run with a guy like TJ Hawkinson. So that's what I have at 12. Let's get sexy at 13, the Miami Dolphins. Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State. I have him at 13. That's your boy.
That's my boy. I mean, I think that's a definitely good pick for Miami. And, I mean, they're really on the upclimb right now, and they need a quarterback. Tannehill has not gotten it done for them. And Dwayne Haskins could really look good down there in Miami. I think he'll look good in those colors, too, and he'll actually fit in.
Ooh, he looks good in the colors.
Tannehill, for me, same exact analysis as Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. You've had your time. You haven't been able to stay healthy, and even at your best, you're a middle-of-the-road quarterback. So, yeah.
So you'll take Haskins over Kyler Murray because he's still on the board.
Yeah, I think it's a system thing, and we'll get to that because, spoiler alert, I also have the team that picks Kyler Murray later on in this draft. But number 14, your Atlanta Falcons. That's where they stand. What is your team going to do at number 14?
The Atlanta Falcons have to improve on the defensive end. I mean, whether it be an edge rusher or cornerback, they just got rid of Robert Alford, finally got rid of his contract. That was the second string cornerback for the team. So the Atlanta Falcons are going to go with Greedy Williams. I think this is the first cornerback that's drafted on this mock draft here with the Sports Hub. So I'm going with Greedy Williams out of LSU.
Like that pick a lot.
He is really, really good. He led the team in interceptions. He reads the ball very well. He cuts in and out of routes. I mean, not in and out of routes. He stops wide receivers from cutting in and out of their routes. He presses them very well. I see a lot of upside in him, and from a lot of speculation and stuff, they're saying that he should be one of the best corners coming out of this draft. So
yeah, if he falls to 14, that's ideal for Atlanta. Greedy Williams was
Definitely.
terrific at the college level with Louisiana State. Definitely a steal at 14. I would not complain if the Packers picked him. They need, like I said earlier, they need help all over that defensive field.
For sure.
So Greedy Williams at 12 also would not make me complain too much. Another guy I mentioned at 15, Washington Redskins, Jake.
Yeah, this is another guy, as you just said, you would like to see at 12. I think Brian Burns doesn't last any longer than 15. I think the junior defensive end out of Florida State, I think he's got top 10 talent just because of everything else and the depth of this draft. He was pushed to 15 in my book. But obviously the Redskins now have Case Keenum. And with at least two of the top quarterbacks in this draft being off the board, I don't think quarterback is really a concern for Washington, at least anymore this year. So with that being said, they need a player at almost every other position, right? I mean, the Redskins have a lot of holes in their team. So I think this is going to be a best player available type situation. And where we have things sitting, the best player available is Brian Burns.
I 1,000% agree. I think he is an absolute stud. I think that is one of the biggest steals at this point. I mean, the biggest steal at this point. Greedy and him both at 14 and 15 respectively. Those are two really good football players, and I'd be really, really happy, like I keep saying, if the Packers got either of them. I really like Brian Burns. I have since, speculation began of the Packers having pick 12. 16, our last pick of the first half of this draft, Mike. Carolina, who you got?
I think Carolina's going to go defense right here at number 16, rather. Excuse me. They got Julius Peppers that just recently retired, after a long 16, 17-year career in the NFL. Very well respected, though. Of course, you still got Luke Kuechly as your main linebacker. So I think at 16 they'll go with a defensive back rather instead at this point. Byron Murray, the defensive back out of Washington, can really provide some help there on the secondary. I don't think Carolina's secondary is very good. I don't think it has been good in years past. Obviously, Josh Norman was a big name for Carolina back in 2015, but not because of his play, rather his on-field antics. So I think Byron Murray will be going to Carolina at 16.
So Byron Murphy out of Washington, pick number 16 to Carolina. We're halfway through the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft. Let's walk over to Big Mike's big board. Write in Byron Murphy for us. Let's go over these first 16 picks, Mike. Obviously, a lot of surprises, a lot of lack of stars. We keep saying the lack of sexy picks. Let's run over what we've got so far. Nick Bosa of Ohio State leading off with the Cardinals. Quinnen Williams of Alabama at number 2. Josh Allen, the linebacker from Kentucky. Rashawn Gary from Michigan at 4. Ed Oliver from Houston at 5. A lot of pass rushing in this top 6 with Montez Sweat of Miss State at 6 for the Giants. Jawan Taylor of Florida, T.J. Hawkinson of Iowa at 7 and 8 respectively. Williams, Locke, White, Bush, Haskins, first quarterbacks off the board at 10 and 13. Greedy Williams, the quarterback, as we mentioned, a steal at 14 to the Falcons. Brian Burns at 15, and Byron Murphy, similar names. Byron Murphy, the quarterback from Washington, going to Carolina at 16. What was the big steal, big shock, anything out of these first half of the first round?
I think I got to give it to Malik at number 14. Greedy Williams, solid pick right there at cornerback for your Atlanta Falcons. I think obviously with Alfred's departure, I think he'll be somebody that they can groom. Obviously, maybe like a Jair Alexander in Green Bay's case, but I think Greedy Williams might be the steal so far.
Hard-hitting quarterback and really good at spotting the ball hawk. Guys, over there, the big steal. Do you agree with the Greedy Williams pick? Brian Burns maybe was the big shock. Kyler Murray not in the top 16. What do you guys think?
Definitely. I think the biggest was for me, Kyler Murray not being there. I mean, he has to be on the top board. I think that he's one of the best players in this draft, so it just shocked me that he wasn't in the top 16.
Jake?
Yeah, I also agree. I think Kyler Murray will somehow go in the top 16, even if it's not at 1. I just think he's going to end up going. But other than that, it's my Redskins pick with Brian Burns. I really do think he's a top talent, and if he drops all the way to number 15, that's great if you're a Washington fan.
That's true.
Absolutely. First 16, Dunzo, over, finito. We're on to the second 16 right after this. You're watching the 2019 NFL Draft mock draft on the Sports Hub on SBTV. Right here. Don't switch that dial.
UW Stevens Point is home.
It's a university where professors know your name and get you involved in research.
They inspire us to realize big dreams.
At UW Stevens Point, sustainability is what we stand for.
Our beautiful campus encourages exploration, developing new fields, and problem solving for the real world.
It's a great place to launch your career.
UW Stevens Point is home.
Apply today at uwsp.edu.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
What's up? Welcome back in to the Sports Hub on SBTV. We're previewing the 2019 National Football League draft, the first 32 picks at least. We're through 16 of them. We're moving on to 17 through 32. I'm Malik Jackson. That's Jake Sennholz. wait a minute. I'm Alex Strouf. That's Malik Jackson. That's Jake Sennholz. Pick number 17, the New York Giants. They received that from the Cleveland Browns for Odell Beckham Jr. This is where I have it happening, boys. This is where the Heisman winner goes. Kyler Murray falls all the way to pick 17 and ends up in the Big Apple.
Wow.
That would be real. That would be very interesting. That would be.
Wow.
I
Quite
haven't.
the commentary.
No, I haven't honestly thought about him going to the Giants. That seems. I mean, it's entirely possible. It seems weird to me.
Yeah, I agree. It seems weird. It's a total switch from a guy like Eli Manning.
Yeah.
But I think Dwayne Haskins is even a switch as well. But Dwayne Haskins has been the shoe-in since this controversy and discussion of the draft started. That it was never a possibility. Everybody was thinking, oh, it'll be Murray in Arizona. And now that we don't have him going to Arizona, we have everybody falling. So if Arizona pulls that one Jenga piece, they all start tumbling in different directions.
It would be strange to see a running back twice the size of his quarterback, though.
Yeah.
That would be pretty entertaining.
Saquon Barkley next to Kyle.
I like it, though. I like the pick. I mean, you talk about if he's dropping this far in this mock draft, why not go get him with this pick?
You
in
need
the draft?
explosion in the New York offense.
Yeah,
you need the
it.
explosion in the New York offense, especially with the loss of Odell Beckham Jr. as mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, New York trading Odell Beckham Jr. for Kyler Murray and Jabril Peppers, not a bad payday, we imagine, but assume. We still have to find out. Jake, you're at 18 with the Minnesota Vikings, but who do you have them taking? The division rival of the Packers.
Yeah, I think Minnesota Vikings would be well suited to draft Garrett Bradbury out of NC State. He's a senior center, and the reason that I've got them taking a center this year is because currently their center, his name is Pat, I think it's Eiflin, I forget how you pronounce that. Anyways, he had a pretty tough year last year, and he's made it publicly known that he would rather play guard. And he was a third-round pick out of Ohio State only 3 years ago. So if you draft a natural center, you're able to move Eiflin to guard. That's basically a 2-for-1 right there. So that's a win-win for the offensive line. It's a win-win for the front office. So, yeah, we've got Garrett Bradbury going to the Minnesota Vikings.
Not a bad pick. Malik, Tennessee at 19, a team that was just on the verge of the playoffs. What can they do at 19 that can maybe take them over that edge and still compete in the AFC South?
They have to do better on defense, and that's where I'm going in this. You could also go with the offensive scheme too, but I'm going to go with Christian Wilkins.
Great pick.
He's a defensive tackle coming out of Clemson. You talk about that defensive line at Clemson this college season. It was spectacular, and they're so good. So I think that Wilkins will bring another element to this Tennessee Titans team, and that's definitely something that they have to improve on. Not having Marcus Mariota have the ball in his hands. It's always that balance scheme, like I always say. You have to have a balance to each and every team. And all of the championship teams, they have at least one great series that their defense went out in the playoffs and was successful to secure the championship. So I think that Wilkins could do this. Maybe he could do this for the team, but hey.
With how defensive this draft has been, this is a big name that drops all the way to 19. Tennessee would be a great fit. Dabo Swinney knows how to make his guys get drafted up, and we've still got a couple of them to mention throughout the rest of the show. Pick number 20 is Pittsburgh, Mike. Talk to me about this one. You made an interesting selection here.
Pittsburgh has made a lot of news this offseason, obviously. Antonio Brown now out of the organization, finally going to Oakland, and Le'Veon Bell out of the hands of Pittsburgh as well, now with the New York Jets. I think right here, Pittsburgh's going to find another wide receiver to go alongside Juju Smith-Schuster, and he has the same last name as Antonio Brown. So I think at number 20, the Steelers go with Marquise Brown, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Favorite target of Kyler Murray in college, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be a favorite target of Ben Roethlisberger as well.
Yeah, you bring up one of the, that's the first wide receiver off the board, which is kind of interesting with DK Metcalf still available. But Marquise Brown, very good wide receiver nonetheless.
I completely agree. I love this pick, Mike. I actually had Brown going just 2 picks later to the Baltimore Ravens. Listen to these numbers real quick, though. The reason I think he is going to go before DK Metcalf is because he is that breakaway speed type player. He's that home run ball type player, but he's also extremely efficient. Listen to this. In 2 years at Oklahoma, he's racked up nearly 2,500 yards, and 17 touchdowns on 132 receptions. 132 receptions. So if you break that down, that's over 18 yards per reception, and 22.4% of the time he caught the ball, it was for a touchdown.
Wow.
22%.
Statistics, baby.
22%
Statistics.
of the time. So, yeah, somebody like that in 2 years puts up to over 2,500 yards, 20% of those, over 20% being touchdowns. And that's a fantastic pick, Mike.
And not to mention that his cousin used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers too, and Antonio Brown.
I think the number 84 is available as well for Pittsburgh.
That's his cousin.
Yeah.
Relationships and statistics, baby. Pick 21, Seattle, one of two they have in the first round as they acquired pick number 29. We'll get there. But pick number 21, the Legion of Boom is dead, folks. Dead. So you need to rebuild it. Nasir Adderley of Delaware, the cornerback, will step in there and do just that. I like Nasir Adderley. I think that's a great pick for Seattle. Good luck with that last name, Mike. That's a fun pick. Delaware, not a college you hear a lot about on the college football scene, like a guy named Joe Flacco went there. But Nasir Adderley, I think he could be an absolute stud for Seattle. Like I said, they need to rebuild that defensive backfield after losing essentially everybody from the Legion to now that Earl Thomas is in Baltimore.
Yeah, and I think that is really key that you hit on that. And it's kind of, I know that they're happy that they don't have to actually be in the workshop looking for a quarterback now that they got that deal done with Russell Wilson. So that's something good that Seattle can look at, but they definitely need to improve on the defense. Get that going back to where it was.
Well, speaking of Earl Thomas's new home, they're right after Seattle at pick number 22. Jake, what are they going to do for Lamar Jackson here?
Well, as I mentioned, I had Brown going here, but the next best option in this draft is the freak of nature.
Oh, Jesus.
DK Metcalf from Ole Miss. If you haven't seen this guy, please, well, you'll see him in 2 days at the draft, most likely, but go look up a picture
He's
right
ridiculous.
now. He is ridiculous. He's like LeBron James size, maybe even more shredded. Like this guy is incredible. He's not quite as tall as LeBron, but I mean he looks exactly like that. It's insane. He is probably the most straight up athletic wide receiver in the game. He doesn't, or in this year's draft, he doesn't have quite the same numbers as Brown, but he had an impressive career at Ole Miss, and I think the Ravens have to get somebody to help out Lamar Jackson, right? They have to get some sort of playmaker on the outside, somebody that can maybe bail him out in certain situations, and you have to be able to throw the ball. If you're Baltimore, I mean, they hardly threw the ball at all last year with Lamar Jackson. So, yeah, giving him somebody that he's going to be able to pass to now to add to his deep repertoire of what he can do, I think that's a perfect fit.
The deep repertoire needs to be worked on because, he's a run-first type of guy, and that's what showed last year. He was really good at it, but, defenses are going to catch on. So
and that's why you bring in a monster on the outside who can go up and get a ball.
Bingo, exactly. To bring in a physical specimen like DK Metcalf, that changes everything. The entire complexion, essentially, especially after a year or two of these two gaining chemistry with one another, that could change everything for Baltimore's offense. So DK Metcalf, a great pick there at 22 to Baltimore.
That pick as well.
23, Houston Texans. Malik.
I'm going to go with DeAndre Baker, cornerback coming out of Georgia. Something that the Houston Texans are struggling on is always their secondary. I mean, you have DeAndre Hopkins on the outside, and then you have Deshaun Watson passing it to him. But they also need J.J. Watt. They need him to get him some help, and I'm not sure if Clowney re-signed yet with the Texans. I don't think he re-signed yet. I don't think he has, but definitely adding in this element as a cornerback to the defensive end, it will be very special for this Texans team because they're right on the brink to going to the AFC Championship game. I mean, the previous 2 years,
they're always a playoff
get
team.
there. Yeah,
now
they
need
get
to get
good.
over the
They
edge.
need to continue to
Mike,
add to that.
Pick number 24, the Chicago Bears should have been picking here, but they decided to trade it for a little guy named, Khalil Mack. So Oakland's second of 3 picks in the first round. Who do you see them taking before we get to our final break?
I think Oakland stays with defense right here at pick number 24. Obviously, with their pick number 4, they took Rashawn Gary. I think they go with the backfield here on this pick right here. So I think they go with Justin Lane, the cornerback out of Michigan State. Definitely was a potential setback to how well the batters performed against Michigan State. So I think it'll be a good fit right here for him in Oakland at number 24.
There you go. We're through 24. We've got 8 more to do. We will get to that right after this. You're watching the NFL Draft Mock Draft on SBTV's Sports Hub. We'll be right back.
The Media Studies is a program for people who love to tell stories, whether that be in written form, visual, or audio.
Media Studies is exciting because it's always fresh, it's always new.
Media is at the center of everything we do. More and more people are asked to engage with media and use media. Our program really provides students with skills and techniques to be better prepared for that in the future.
We offer courses in media production, both video and audio, nonfiction and fiction, music production, journalism, film studies.
Media Studies is a great way to get hands-on experience in the field that you're looking to do. They teach you the basic concept behind everything, and then they tell you to go do it.
We really pride ourselves on thinking of a wide set of opportunities that we can give our students.
The student organizations are a great asset. We have SPTV, the student television organization, 90 FM, the radio, and The Pointer, our student-run newspaper.
It's a great way for students to get involved, learn skills that they need for class, and meet new people.
Some great facilities where our students can hone their skills.
There's a giant studio in the center of the comm building. I've had quite a few classes in there.
A lot of our classes are very hands-on, they're very interpersonal.
You're getting the skills that will allow you to create your future, and I think that's what makes it a truly amazing experience for students.
There's an incredible range of options for graduates. We've had students go out and become independent contractors, work for radio stations, newspapers, with TV stations.
Everyone is different and they have their own unique style. In all the classes and all the student organizations you get involved in, you have a lot of flexibility to really create your own work and do it in a way that means something to you.
We're excited to see what students are making and what they want to make, and how we can help students get from where they are to where they want to be.
I'm in a video production class that's teaching me how to film documentaries. I'm also in a screenwriting class and I get to learn how to write movies. So I'm doing all these different cool things and I love it every day.
Welcome back into the Sports Hub. I'm Alex Strouf. That's Malik Jackson. That's Jake Sennholz. We've got Big Mike Wengrzyn over on Big Mike's Big Board. I've just been informed this is the longest show in SBTV history, so if you've made it this far, congratulations. We love you. Let's move on. Pick number 25, the Philadelphia Eagles. That's mine. I'm going to go offensive line. Cody Ford out of Oklahoma. Going to go at pick number 25 to the Eagles. Another Oklahoman going in this draft. That's quite a few. That's got to be 3 or 4 of them. Kyler Murray, look at this guy making all his teammates make the big bucks in the NFL draft. That's pick 25. Pick 26 is Indianapolis. Jake?
Yeah, Indianapolis is one for me. It could be a handful of guys, but for me, I think they're going to go offensive tackle. Number 1 offensive tackle for me actually is probably Jeffrey Simmons. However, he's coming off an ACL injury, so you might want to avoid him. I've got them picking Jerry Tillery, senior defensive tackle out of Notre Dame. The reason I think they're going to go with the defensive tackle, all 3 of their division opponents have a pretty solid run game.
Yeah.
So I think, stick a big man in the middle and clog up that inside lane, and you're good to go if you're the Colts. So they had a fantastic pick in the first round offensive line last year, and I could see them doing it again this year on the defensive line.
There you have it. Pick number 27 is Oakland. Should have been Dallas's, but they acquired Amari Cooper. This is the 3rd and final pick for Oakland in the first round. There's 7 rounds, by the way. So Oakland at 27. What do you think they do, Malik?
I think that they're going to go on the tight end position.
Uh-oh.
And I think that they're going to go with this guy from Iowa. His name is Noah Font. Excuse me.
Like the typewriter, the American typewriter. Shout out to Jared Scanigan.
That's true. And I really think adding on another weapon with Antonio Brown being on the other side of the field, I think that that's really important, especially for Derek Carr. Gruden said that he was going to go out and he was going to assess this team and make sure that weapons are set in place. So I think that this will be a good pickup for them.
Derek Carr had great repertoire with Jared Cook as well. Jared Cook, when he was like 34, 35 years old or whatever, went to Oakland, had a monster season. So. We've seen tight ends have great success there before.
Absolutely. Yeah. 28, Los Angeles, the Chargers this time around. Mr. Mike, what did they do? They were this close last year, man. They were this close last year. Very good team. Phillip Rivers is getting old. Melvin Gordon, it's always a question mark on health. What do they do at 28?
I think they go defensive line at 28. I
A very good defense already.
Very good defense already. We obviously, with Joey Bosa and such. But they go with Dexter Lawrence, the defensive tackle out of the college national champion Clemson Tigers. Definitely going to be a big man right there on the line, and I think he'll be a very good pick right there at number 28 for the Chargers.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Pick number 29, that happened on Tuesday, which is when we're filming. You might see this on Wednesday or Thursday. But the Kansas City Chiefs traded for Frank Clark, a linebacker out of Seattle, and they gave away their pick number 29. So Seattle now has 2 picks in the first round. We already went over pick number 21, which is what they did, was Nasir Adderley, the D-back out of Delaware. Pick 29 now. I also think they stick defense. I see back-to-back Tigers from Clemson go, and I think this time around it's Clelin Ferrell, who another big name on that defensive front for Clemson. Very good defense. Shout out to Dabo. I think Clelin Ferrell is the final Clemson Tiger picked in the 2019 NFL draft. Well, at least the first round. That does it for my picks, so let's move on to go ahead.
And real quick, too, Frank Clark, not only did he bring back a first-round pick this year, a third-round pick this year, and a second-round pick last year, I mean, it shows, once again, how important an edge rusher is. I think the Chiefs, knowing how far down in the draft they were this year, not going to get a top-of-the-line edge rusher. So they trade for one, who's been proven. And, again, it just shows you how valuable good players are. And that's another reason, again, I alluded to it way at the beginning of the show, but that's another reason I think the Cardinals would easily still trade Josh Rosen, is because of a trade like this. You got to get 3 high picks for a guy like Frank Clark.
True.
Jake, you're at pick number 30, and so are the Green Bay Packers. Don't let us down. What do they do?
Hopefully the Packers do something exciting, do something everybody is happy about and thrilled with at pick 12, because I think at pick 30 it's going to be a pretty, I don't want to say run-of-the-mill, but it's a pretty not exciting pick. It is going to be very helpful for Aaron Rodgers and for the offensive line overall. I think they're going to go with Dalton Reisner out of Kansas State. He's a potential replacement for Brian Bulaga, who is entering his last year in his contract. And Bulaga, of course, has always battled injuries. He's been a warrior for the Packers, but he's injured quite a lot. So you can bring in a guy in Reisner who hopefully will be there for a long time and protect your franchise and Aaron Rodgers.
An offensive line pick. Not sexy, but it's always safe. I mean, look at Bulaga. That was a first-round pick how many years ago? And he's still around now, unfortunately, at the tail end of hhis career. So definitely finding a replacement at pick 30, not a bad move. Pick 31 goes to the runner-up of the Super Bowl. That's the Los Angeles Rams. Malik, what are they going to do?
They're going to go on the defensive end of the field and go with Jeffrey Simmons of Mississippi State. Although he does have
a top 7 talent in this draft at worst.
Yeah, that's true. But his ACL injuries issues, like you said before the show,
torn ACL.
Yeah, he has a torn ACL. So I mean, when you think about that,
drops
a lot
your
of people
stock a little bit.
Yeah, doesn't want to really take a stock like that, take a dab at it. But I mean, I think that it'll be good for this Rams team. They really don't need to improve on that many other avenues. I mean, on their team, they're really solid in every single other aspect of the team. But I think that this will be a good pick for them, and I think that Simmons will add another element with Aaron Donald on that side of the field.
Mike, we've reached it. We've reached the conclusion. Pick 32 goes to the Super Bowl champion. That's unfortunately the New England Patriots. Write it in, tell us about it, and come join us at the table.
Well, we're going to... For the third time in the last 5 years, the Patriots have had the 32nd overall pick in the first round of the draft, and I think they go wide receiver to fill the missing void that Chris Hogan leaves, and of course with Gronkowski, the tight end, retiring. I think they're going to draft A.J. Brown, the wide receiver, and again, out of Ole Miss, So I think it's going to be a really great pick for the Patriots are here. Last thing we need to see them is get better. So that's how I think they'll close out the first round of the draft.
We just closed out the first round of the draft. That's 32 picks. Come join us. Let's discuss a little bit before we have to take off. So we see 32 on there. Nick Bosa, number 1. A.J. Brown, 32. That's 1 through 32. If we can get a shot of the entire board, that's what it looks like. Through and through. The first round, according to your SB TV geniuses right here at this table. Guys, Jake, I'll start with you. The most surprising part of our mock draft is blank.
2 things for me. Again, Kyler Murray falling as far as he does. If he goes to New York at 17, honestly, I will be very surprised. obviously, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just haven't really imagined it yet. He would look weird to me in a Giants uniform. I don't know, just the thought of it seems off. The other thing is, I mentioned it, Malik mentioned it, Jeffrey Simmons. He's top 10 talent. He's one of the best, if not the best, pass rusher in this, defensive tackle in this draft. And you find him all the way down at 31 with the Rams. I mean, it's not surprising given,
that's a boomer
given the
bust,
injury
right?
history.
That's a
but
boomer
yeah,
bust.
That's a very, very, very big boomer bust, but still. And we've seen other guys like Jalen Ramsey. Even though he had injury problems, he was still drafted, I think, like 12th overall or something. So for a guy as talented as Simmons to fall all the way to 31, that would be a shock to me.
I had him dropping to 26 in my mock, so I don't think that's crazy low, but it's definitely a boomer bust.
I had him
material.
also at 26 with the
There
Colts.
you go. That's right.
possibly,
We
so.
agreed on that. There we go. MJ, who you got? Biggest surprise out of this draft?
The biggest surprise is definitely Kyler Murray and Haskins not going higher than what they were on our mock draft. I definitely think that those two players, including DK Metcalf dropping all the way to the 22nd, I think that they're going to be higher up on this draft poll. I think that people are going to look into the freakish aspects of DK Metcalf and especially his combine, and I think that he's going to go higher. But definitely Kyler Murray not going number 1 overall or top 3 overall. I think that's crazy, and I think that he's going to be the best player in this draft.
Big Mike, biggest surprise.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Malik right there. You know, Drew Lock being the first quarterback drafted at number 10 by Denver, you don't really think about it too much, but you would definitely think Kyler Murray would definitely be in consideration there for the Giants at number 6, but ultimately in our draft, he falls to number 17. So the Giants still, get him at some point, but I feel that he probably could have gone number 1 though too, but Nick Bosa, again, generational talent. I really don't think you can argue that pick too much either yourself. So
That's true. Bingo. You brought up the pass rushing. That's my biggest surprise. 9 of the first 15 picks are pass rushers. That's 60%. And it doesn't even stop there. I mean, you look at other guys, Christian Wilkins at 19 to the Titans. You look at Farrell, you look at Lawrence, you look at Simmons all the way at 31. The slew of talent in the front 7 defensively for any team is unbelievable. Like half of our first-round draft was pass rushers. Yeah. Not something you see every day. Big Mike talked about a generational talent in Nick Bosa. Oh boy, is it going to be fun. NFL draft starts Thursday night, the first round, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round Friday, and 5 through 7 rather. On Saturday. That'll do it for us here on the Sports Hub. Get us on Facebook, SPTV-UWSP Television. Find us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. For all your Pointer athletic information, athletics.uwsp.edu or at the Pointers homepage, the UWSP homepage. Rather, that's Jake Sennholz, that's Mike Wengrzyn, that's Malik Jackson, that's Alex Strouf. Thank you to all of our technical staff. I love each and every one of you. Thank you very much. That'll do it for us. We'll see you next week on The Hub.